Really a lot of speed, and I'm talking about physical speed and then speed of operation. And that's the word that comes to mind most when you think about them. Do an absolutely fantastic job of executing their offense. They may execute their offense as good as anybody we've watched execute their offense. You know, and they're really good in their system. I know Coach Freeze knows what he needs to go to. When you take something away, it doesn't take 2 or 3 plays. It's immediate. So it's a huge challenge. Huge challenge. I think the big thing that they've been able to do is get their athletes in space with the ball, and a lot of times it's execution. Other times it's checking plays, get you in a disadvantaged defense. So we really have to be on our toes.
Ellis doesn't seem to be the best pass defenses all over the SEC. What do you see is causing all these high scores everywhere?
Well, I think first of all you had a lot of experienced quarterbacks coming back. And then I think the other thing, if you go back and look, I'm not going to say I can prove this, but it seemed to me that the larger number of NFL players that were taken out of the conference last year were defensive players. I think the draft really drained off a lot of the great defensive players that would have been returning. Third thing, I think I think a lot of offenses, it is changing. It's taken this conference a little while, but they're going to more of a tempo type offense, and sometimes it affects both sides of the ball. So you're seeing scores go up and yardage go up and turnovers go up and a lot of things go up. So, it is what it is. I think you have to be prepared to play against so many different styles of offense in this conference with the greatest athletes in the country, and it's tough to keep people off the board.
How much have you evolved in dealing with those offenses and where you were a few years ago when they first started?
Well, if you want to go back 10 to 12 years ago, tremendous changes. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't changed very much. Every year, though, somebody puts a new wrinkle in those systems. Somebody has a little different way of lining up in a formation that puts you in stress, in coverage and play action passes, or unbalanced formations. They come up with something. Once you get used to it and get it schemed up, they come up with something to get you out of place. So it's a never-ending process. We're always adjusting, always trying to keep up. And I just think right now the biggest thing that's causing the statistical deal in the SEC as opposed to previous years is the experienced quarterbacks and the talent on that side of the ball.
Is it just strange that it seems like the norm now is you're preparing for offenses like Ole Miss instead of an offense like LSU?
Well, it is, but it's about 50-50 now in this conference, and it makes your job more difficult. It used to be you saw 1 or 2 of them, but that was hard too because most of the time your own offense didn't have much of it in their offense. I've said this, I know y'all feel like it's being repeated so many times, but our offensive system has some power run in it, has a lot of tempo, has some deceptive formations, a lot of read options and play actions off of it. So it really does help us not to have to just feel like we're jumping in a tub of cold water when we see one of those type offenses. But everybody's got a little different way of doing it, and Ole Miss says too.
You guys face some great receivers at LSU. You got 2 more here at Ole Miss, looks like Treadwell and Moncrief. What do you see from those guys? How they stack up with those receivers?
Really good players. Kind of hard to compare them though because LSU runs more of a power offense and a maximum protection, deep throws, double moves, and those type things. And Ole Miss will have those things, but they come off of an option offense, a spread offense. So it's a little different style, but they're all good in their offenses because they're talented and they do a great job.
How different is what they do to what you guys do on offense?
I would say a little bit more 4 detached receivers than our offense does, but our offense does quite a bit of that too. Their play of preference may be a little different, but we've seen everything. I mean, we've seen 3 backs in the backfield, 2 backs in the backfield, 1 back in the backfield, empty formation. So they've done a little bit of everything. The difficulty is we've seen all of their different formations, but you don't know what they're going to use against you. They're doing these things obviously because they think it puts the other team in a bind and they're attacking their scheme of defense. Well, our defensive system may not be exactly like that team. So although we're taking all those plays and playing and practicing against them on the practice field, we may get something totally different from them. And they've got some real flexible athletes that can do so much variety. It makes it really difficult.
So can you take much from how Alabama defended them last night because they had a lot more success than just about anybody else?
Well, Alabama's certainly talented, and I thought they did a good job. They saw them last year, Texas didn't, so maybe it made a difference. Texas was going through a change that week, made that hard for them. I thought Alabama obviously did a great job. Ole Miss had their chances and just couldn't capitalize, but they were threatening 2 or 3 times. So they moved the ball on Alabama. They just couldn't get the points, and Alabama made the big plays when they had to. You can get a lot of good ideas from other people's defenses, but if it totally gets outside of your scheme of defense, it's very difficult to tinker with that in 3 days. So we might see a few things we'd like off of it, but some things are just not within our system.